Good morning. Good morning to all of you out there. I'm Cito Beltran, and you are watching Agenda on channels 8 and 250 of Signal TV and live on the Facebook platform of One News PH. And today is May 5, Tuesday, and I'll see if I can get this fans turned off by remote control so you don't hear the buzzing. It's getting kind of warm in the Philippines. Yesterday, we registered what is reportedly the hottest day for so far in the Philippine summer for 2020. And so I suggest that all of you do your best to cool down because we are in the thick of the fight. If our fight against COVID-19 is declared World War III, here in the Philippines, we are now in close quarter combat against COVID-19. And why do I say that? Because this week, we have essentially seen many towns, cities go under lockdown, hard lockdown, complete shutdown, you name it, we got it. And then we are doing so many testings. In fact, yesterday, the Senate had a session, and just before they started, they tested about 500 people before they could be allowed to enter the Senate building. And there were quite a lot of people who tested positive. I think 18 of them tested positive. Many were from the staff of senators and one page and a waiter, but mostly staff of senators. And so that already gave our legislators in the upper house an idea that they themselves are not safe and that the virus was in the building. Okay, now Navotas will be on a lockdown from May 6 to 15, and then Tondo residents, I think the ARC project of Joey Concepcion did a rapid testing in Tondo, and out of 1,049, I think, I have to check the numbers, but out of 1,049, they had 109 residents who tested positive. So we are now doing the test so much so that the DOH can actually report that there are 6,000 COVID cases in Metro Manila. Now, that's alarming, but, just the good news is, we have the greater population of the Philippines and out of 100 plus million. So that's not too bad, which means that the government's policy of ECQ, GCQ is somehow working. But I'm just bringing this to your attention because this week and the coming week is basically our hand-to-hand combat, or door-to-door combat, community-to-community combat against COVID-19. So let's all cooperate. Now, let's go through the headlines. Okay, and beginning with the Health Department's report that the Philippines' highest number of recoveries was attained yesterday. With 101 newly recovered patients, we now have over 1,300 survivors of COVID-19. Still, we had over 260 new confirmed cases as of yesterday, bringing the total to 9,485, while the death toll is regrettably now at 623. The DOH also reported the results of the genome sequencing, which initially shows that COVID-19 cases in the country could have come from Japan, Australia, and Shanghai, China. Now, let's just clarify that report. This genome sequencing test, essentially what they did was they tested the earlier cases of reported COVID-19. And then based on the source of those samples, those were samples taken from patients who had traveled and who came from Australia, came from Shanghai, China, came from Japan, or when compared to the buildup or the characteristics of the virus are similar to the virus that were reported, samples of the virus reported in those countries. So I'm just making that personal clarification because some people might say that we are accusing certain countries. Nonetheless, the health department says more genome sequencing samples must be taken to further confirm this data. Presidential spokesman Harry Roque says residents in the general community quarantine or GCQ areas may no longer receive cash from the Social Amelioration Program. Secretary Roque explains there is no final decision yet, but they are leaning, they meaning the IATF or the Interagency Task Force for Emerging Diseases, are leaning towards taking this step as GCQ areas are allowed to reopen their economy and thus people can go to work. Okay, now it is the opposite for enhanced community quarantine areas where stricter protocols are in place and presumably the SAP will continue to be distributed if they have actually been distributed. Next up, President Rodrigo Duterte suspended the increase in PhilHealth contributions of overseas Filipino workers or OFWs. President Duterte also ordered agencies to make payment of premiums voluntary for departing OFWs. These two steps are seen to provide relief to Filipinos working abroad as the country grapples with COVID-19 pandemic. Roque, who was the author of the Universal Healthcare Law during his stint in the lower house, also made it clear that the premium increase is not stated or was not part of the law, but was introduced in the Implementing Rules and Regulations or IRR. Roque says he was not among those who crafted the IRR. The Commission on Higher Education is considering a rolling scheme in the opening of classes this upcoming school year. CHED Chairman Prospero de Vera III explained that in such a scheme, the decision will be given to colleges and universities on whether they will open in August or not. If an institution is ready for a flexible learning system, they can proceed with their classes in August, but if not, they will be allowed to open school at a later date. Metro Manila tallied the hottest day of the year yesterday, as I mentioned earlier, at a scorching 36.5 degrees Celsius. Pag-asa had earlier warned of hotter days this month of May, where the temperature could reach as high as 41 degrees in northern Luzon, presumably somewhere in the Tuguegarao, Isabela area, and 38 degrees in the rest of the country. So that's most of the news. I already included the 18 discovered COVID positive individuals in the Philippine Senate. So now let's go on with the interviews on agenda. Let's speak with Dr. Kathryn Natalie Tan. I don't know if she's online already, a fellow in psychiatry, medical specialist in the National Center for Mental Health. Excuse me, young lady, we would like to speak to Dr. Tan.
Yes, that's me. Hello, good morning.
Excuse me, you look
Yeah.
like a high school student dressed with a bandana and t-shirt. What's going on there?
Well, apologies that I have to wear fresher gear. It's because I'm about to report to work and we have to wear our PPEs. So it's very hot.
Okay.
So we need yeah, cooling material so that it's easier for us to work. So
Okay, okay. Well, no, ladies and gentlemen, that was actually part of our script. I already
yes.
told. No, because we are curious about the day to day life of physicians. I, for one, have been wanting to be in the emergency section of hospitals, but they said, "Sorry, Mr. Beltran, you are triple comorbidity and 64." So it's not going to work. But in any case, let's go back to the interview. You are connected with the National Center for Mental Health, and a few weeks ago, word went
Yes.
out that you guys were in extreme danger. That the doctors and staff of National Center for Mental Health were in extreme danger because you lacked the appropriate PPEs, and that there were outbreaks in the center. What's the situation there now, Doctora?
Well, in general, uh, actually, I think it's happening all over the world.
Okay.
That we are all terrified. We're all on our toes in terms of handling a virus that is, well, it's highly infective. Infective. So we have to be in full battle gear just to protect ourselves and to protect our patients. So in general, we are very on our toes in this situation.
Okay, now as
Yeah.
far as the patients are concerned, how are you handling patients? Because I'm sorry if I'm being stereotypical, or if I'm stereotyping NCMH
Sorry.
patients. I'm sorry if I'm stereotyping
I'm
uh,
sorry. There's a problem.
with the audio. Okay, we seem to be
Let
having
me.
problems with our audio. Okay, we'll get back to Doctora Kathryn Natalie Tan regarding the National Center for Mental Health, because I was just going to transition. What's the situation with the patients there? How are they handling patients, especially those who are not lucid or aware of themselves? And what are the dangers that they are exposed to? And of course, talk about the increase in the incidence of mental health consultations and cases at the National Center for Mental Health. In any case, today, just in case you're all wondering who we have lined up, if things go well, we are about to have after Dr. Tan, we will have Congressman Joey Salceda, the chairman of the Congressional Committee on Ways and Means, and then we hope to talk to Presidential Assistant Advisor Joey Concepcion regarding the rapid testings that they have done in Sampaloc and also in Tondo, because apparently those testings have revealed some interesting things. Now, let's go back to Doctora Natalie Tan. Doctora, are you there?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
Apologies for that.
No problem,
Yes.
not your fault. Now, regarding your patients, because I don't want to stereotype, but most people think the patients in the National Center for Mental Health are unaware of themselves, of their situation or their condition. They're not lucid, and some of them can be violent or flailing arms around, which exposes you and the staff to possible dangers. What's the situation? What is the real situation?
Well, it's not necessarily with our patients, but it's for everyone else. Actually, with this type of virus, this COVID-19, one of the things that we have to be very careful of is this virus can incubate itself while somebody may not present symptoms. So, not necessarily for our patients, but for everyone else, whether it's our colleagues, whether it's our family, it can, anybody can be a carrier. So, that's the most dangerous part of it. Unlike the other pandemics that happened in the past, the advantage of it is people easily manifested symptoms. So, like SARS, they manifested symptoms, and the ones who manifested symptoms are the ones who unfortunately did not make it or had serious effects in their health. So that's the dangerous part of COVID-19.
Okay, so as far as your place of work is concerned, okay, how have things gone? Because there are reports. I spoke to someone from DSWD that there's been an increase in cases. Okay, I think we are losing that one because of connections. We will try, maybe third time lucky, Gabriel. And if not, well, we will just have to move on to other topics. Now, when we get to speak to Congressman Joey Salceda, I hope that we can have a different sort of discussion, because judging from the news, judging from everything that's come out in media in the Philippines and as well as social media, we've all started acting like horses, runners, or racers, waiting for the gate to open, waiting for the green light to go, or waiting for the horn to blow so that we can just rush out and do what we have been denied to do for the last 47, 48 days, depending on how long you have been under quarantine. I personally have been under quarantine for over 50 days because, as I've mentioned before, we were put in a preventive quarantine very early in the game when one of our guests was exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19. So I've been at it for quite some, much longer than most people. Now, in any case, but that's not to brag. The question is, after being detained, quarantined for 47 to 50 days or whatever, are we just going to go back calling the old, doing the old thing and calling it the new normal? Because there are a lot of people using the phrase the new normal, but no one is really talking about what's the game plan. Okay, we I have advisory. We will try to get Dr. Tan, but in any case, going back to what I was saying, no one has said let's study everything and let's figure out how our lives should be different. You've all been posting on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, photos of of mountains that you never saw before in the distance. I mean, people keep posting now, oh, wow, what is this mountain? I've never seen this mountain. Oh, look at the stars. There's so many stars now. Wow, look at all the animals that are coming back, etc., etc. And then posting about, wow, no traffic on EDSA, and then talking about many things, many positive things that came out because of the quarantine. Now, of course, on the other hand, the reality is we all need to earn a living, okay? And we all need to have jobs or at least a source of income. But the question is, what are we going to do about the new normal? What is our new normal going to be like? What is the national government's plan for the new normal? Because there is this video that's been going out on Facebook, YouTube. It's called Tell Me the Story About the Virus. I'll repeat it. Tell me the story about the virus. It was produced presumably by a guy from England, because that was the diction, that was the accent. And it's basically a video that's done in a storytelling fashion. A father and son in bed, and the son, toddler, going, tell me the story. And he tells about the story of COVID-19 as if it's in the past, about all our mistakes, about what the world had been doing, about how people had been acting until the great virus came and changed it all, changed the way we lived, the way we think, the way we talk, the way we related, the way we communicated. And so the question is, what will the new normal be? Will it be all of us slowly but surely going back to jobs? Slowly but surely going back into our cars, into buses, into trains? Slowly but surely staying out more longer and longer and longer until our new normal is back to the old normal, when we no longer think of the environment, when we get used to the traffic again. We are all standing on a hill of choice. You're standing on top of a hill where we all have a choice. I think at this stage the government is in the best position to address this problem, and or this challenge, because we need to make a choice now. What is our new normal going to be? Is it the Philippines trying to compete yet again with its Asian neighbors? The Philippines trying to rank up to the global players, or regional players, saying, oh, we have X% growth, we have this, we have that? Or is it the Philippines going on a different path and saying, we are happier, we are healthier, and in essence, we have become more generous to each other. We have shared, and we are all collectively richer, and no longer about rich and poor. We'll go for a break, and when we come back, we'll see if we can get more interviews, because we need to improve our connectivity here in the country, and that's our problem. We'll be out for a quick break. Please stay tuned. Okay, let's see. Another roll of the dice. Let's see if third time lucky. Let's try Dr. Natalie, Kathryn Natalie Tan again. Okay, okay, Doctora. So, quick question. What's the situation at the National Center for Mental Health? Do you have a surge in cases, in calls, etc.?
Well, right now we do have an increase in calls. But for consults, I believe it's because of the difficulty in getting to the hospital, because everywhere is a lockdown. So there's also difficulty with transportation. But there is an increase in calls to our crisis hotline.
Okay, now what about the concept of telemedicine for counseling in your hospital?
We do have our crisis hotline for those who need to speak to someone. We also have an affiliation with a group to do psychosocial support for our frontliners.
Okay, so because I guess we have a generational confusion here. When you say hotline to an old guy like me, it's telephone. It's a landline. And I
Yes,
say when I say telemedicine, it's you on your computer talking to your patient on her cell
yes,
phone.
yes. Actually, our telemedicine, it's more of a psychosocial support for frontliners. So there's an access to Zoom, but there's
Yeah.
also an option for cell phone. But for our crisis hotline, it's more of cell phone. So that's 0917 899 USAP or 989 USAP.
899 or 98 what
89 USAP.
989 USAP USAP. Okay.
Yes.
Now last
Yes.
question, how are the physicians and the staff of the Center for Mental Health doing, because we all got worried about you guys there. How is the team doing?
Well, thank you for your concern for us. In general, as a frontliner, it's also very difficult, especially like for myself. I am worried of bringing the illness home. So anytime that we step out of our homes, we are at risk for infection. Um, but we still carry on. We still want to do our duty, especially that we took an oath. Especially also that we are called to serve our Filipino citizens. So, despite the situation of our fears of the heat, actually, my personal difficulty would be the heat, wearing our protective gear. But we are supplied with protective gear. We are doing our best to take care of our patients at the National Center for Mental Health.
Okay, well, Doctora, I leave it at that, and I know you got to run off to work. Please take care of
Yes.
yourselves. Extend our concern to all of your associates. God bless all of you. God protect all of you, and may you stay safe, healthy, and strong. Thank you,
Thank
Doctora.
you. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, thank you. And that's Doctora Kathryn Natalie Tan of the National Center for Mental Health. And, you know, while the physicians worry about bringing home COVID-19 to their loved ones, I tell you that I already have at least four fathers, four parents who have, who have shared to us their fear, their daily fear when they say goodbye to their sons and daughters who are going to the hospitals as nurses or doctors. In fact, one parent who is a retired general, we just prayed over him and for his daughter, because the daughter was a person under in investigation or PUI or whatever you call them. And thank God that she did not test positive. But while we are going through our daily things, just remember those parents who have children who are now doctors taking care of Filipinos. In any case, let's pray for all of them, for God's protection on them. And now let's go to one of our favorite interviewees. He's my professor in economics and politics, none other than Congressman Joey Salceda. He is the chairman for the Committee on Ways and Means. Kong, good morning to you, sir. Mag-aaral ako ulit.
Oh, good morning, Sir Sito.
Okay, Congressman, I'll just go from topic to topic if you don't mind.
Okay lang.
And kung pwede, parang conversation na lang tayo. Kasi, first of all, your name crop came up again as in support of Pogo. Dahil sabi mo raw, pwede natin pagkunan to ng pera. But Senator Franklin Drilon said, no, because if we make the Pogos under BPOs, they will get out of the 5% tax and franchise tax, and they can be free of paying PAGCOR, the license fee. So wala ka rin pagkukunan ng pera kasi hindi naman nagbabayad daw itong mga Pogo companies na ito. Your comments, please.
Hindi ko nasasagutin si Senator Drilon, pero yung regulatory framework po ng operation ng Pogo ay hindi naman po mababago just because whether it's GCQ or ECQ. Kung ano po talaga yung pinasok nila, Sa ngayon po, ang binabayaran po nila, basically dapat yung kanila pong, yung WIS bilang withholding tax agent na kanilang mga empleyado na between 150 to 280,000, yun lang po ang range kasi talagang malikot po yung numerong yan. Pangalawa, yung kanilang 2% na binabayaran po na bigla regulatory fee doon po sa PAGCOR. I don't think it's being affected either by ECQ, GCQ, or ITF. There's none. The comparison with the BPO is only with respect to social distancing. Dahil ang BPO pinapayagan, dahil nga po, sila po ay nakakapag-social distance but by the very nature na ginagamit po nilang telecom to service without direct contact with another person so far away, probably US or Europe. Same with the same logic applies to Pogo na siniservice nila virtually just one market, Red China, which is now recovering and most likely one of the few countries which will post positive growth days this year and the next. So it's like taking advantage of it. At the same time, these are not impacting or hindi sila nakikipag-compete sa utilization ng local resources. In fact, sila po nagdadala ng resources. So, in short, ang hinihingi lang namin dyan, bayaran nila yung hindi nila nabayaran last year, lalong-lalo na po yung mga wage tax. Pangalawa, na sana, actually last year, nagbayad sila ng 8 billion dyan po sa PAGCOR. Ang meaning to say niyan, dahil 2%, umabot po ng 400 billion po yung kita nila next. 400 billion ang kita nila last year. So kung gamitan mo yan ng 5%, di 20 billion agad dyan. Plus po mga 2 billion per month from the wage tax. So dapat 44 billion. And this year, they could have, without COVID, easily made their forecast was 600 billion times 5% equals 30 plus 24. That's 54. That's a lot of money, no? It's not being immoral about it, but it's simply that it is the Philippines is the only place where gambling is legal.
Okay.
So,
Now, I take your point, and that's I guess at this stage, from the looks of it, we will need all the Philippine government will need all the money it can find just to fund everything moving forward. Now, my next question is, everybody keeps talking about the new normal this, the new normal that. Ano ba ang assessment mo, Kong Joey, regarding the real situation? Kasi ako, very elementary ako eh. Wala namang nawalang kumpanya. Nandiyan pa naman yung gamit. Nandiyan pa yung tao. Kumbaga, na-force vacation lang tayong lahat. But of course, then, tourism is affected. Air travel is affected. Pero by and large, sapul na sapul ba tayo? Taob-bangka ba tayo? Or nabukulan lang tayo?
Mukhang nabukulan na malaki. Kaso, depende yan sa attitude mo, sa worldview mo, pananaw mo.
Okay.
Ako kasi, naniniwala ako, laking debate bilang chairman po ng House Committee on Economic Stimulus. So, alos lahat yan. Ewan ko kung nakailan na po akong webinar tsaka ng mga consultations. Ilang Viber groups kasama po ako. Sabi ko, para sa akin bilang isang practical, na dumaan na po ako sa napakarami pong bagsak na market eh. Habang bumabagsak yan, lalo po talaga nagiging negative. Kung ano-ano na po iniisip ng tao, as if hindi naman. Pero, andito pa rin. Ay siyang financial crisis, sinabi nila, wala na. Ayun, mas maganda nga yung after that, natuto Pilipinas, lalong gumanda dahil nagkaroon ng reform. Same with the global financial crisis. Nagkaroon tayo ng 3.6% of GDP na economic stimulus plus dinasan lang po natin yung insurance natin sa mga small deposits from 250 to 500. Ayos na. Nasingil naman po na yung BIS, yung fiscal reform. So na sinasabi ko, it is always during periods such as this that it is easy to be so pessimistic. But if you go back and say, parang ako diretsahin ko na.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Marami nagsasabi na itong mga bus, dapat ganito, may kung ano-anong structure palitan. Yung ating pong aeroplano sabi, alisin yung middle seat para may social distancing. Sino magbabayad? Gobyerno o publiko? Sabi ko, bakit di nyo na lang i-test bago pumasok? Sabi naman ng isa, itong lahat ng mga hotel, kailangan ang aircon individual bawat kwarto. Hindi na pwede yung centralized. Sabi ko, di tataas ng 15% ang room rate. Sabi ko, ayaw ko po siguro na ipasubo tayo sa isang way of life na pag dumating ang vaccine, parang yan nakalimutan mo na lahat eh. Kasi ang kailangan lang talaga para sa akin, all of this is a bridge towards a vaccine. And you start with minimum health standard, protecting the senior citizens and the comorbs, and then of course low cost, tinatawag namin non-pharmaceutical like washing your hand, wearing a face mask, etc. And then of course having the capacity for testing and tracing and having the hospital capacity of treating them. Kasi once you, depende yan, gaano kahaba ang bridge mo to a vaccine? Is that 1 year? Ako, naniniwala ako, by 2021 may vaccine. So my forecast in my behavior right now is based on that. Pero pagdating mo sa kabila, minimum health standard ka pa rin at nandun na rin po naka-built in yung capacity mo to confront the next pandemic. So in short, it is easy to overdo all this new normal.
Okay.
But I'd rather take a view which says these are the minimum health standard and all my strategies are bridges to a vaccine. I think that is the more appropriate strategy.
Okay, bridges until we get the vaccine. So,
bridges to vaccine.
Okay, ngayon, ang next question ko, Congressman Salceda, may mga dumadaing na on Facebook and personal and in friends na nagsasabi, Kuyang, paano na to? Tuloy pa rin ang singil ng bangko sa aming utang para sa bahay, utang para sa kotse, and then sabi ng government, hindi kami makaka-back to normal. How do you deal with that, Kong Joey? Do we tell these people, declare bankruptcy? Di bali nang masaktan yung credit rating mo sa bangko kasi hindi mo naman kayang bayaran? What would be your advice as our economics professor?
Ang lahat ng tinamaan ay SME, no? That's 60% of total employment. So if you do a Pareto analysis of the situation, kumbaga after the war, mamumulot ka na ng mga patay o ng mga survivor, makikita mo kaagad na yung mga SME po, yung mga nakalatay doon sa gitna. So, ifo-focus po natin dito po sa mga SME at handang-handa po yung halos buong economic stimulus ng House nakatingin doon on several aspects. One, in terms of their cost structure, magdadagdag po kami ng at least 2 months na wage subsidies sa mga SMEs. Pangalawa, in terms of their kanila pong mga utang, so maglalagay tayo ng credit mediation na refinancing service para po mabigyan sila ng bagong pautang, new loans, or a refinancing either through by offering guarantees to their banks, to their creditors na, uy, huwag niyong galawin yan kasi gawin mo na lang new loan, yung mga utang ng SME na yan, basta nandito na kami sa tabi niya, we're offering that if they fail again, they have 50%. Para sa mga big ticket na mga systemic risk, na-create din po kami ng repurpose NDC, parang bailout company, para po, kasi I think after 3 years, you know, unless we have another pandemic, hopefully not, I think you will look back and say, no, I hope you do not look back and say you did so many stupid things. Because I think you have to have a more realistic assessment of where we are and still, I think the future is always more positive than the current. I think that is one learning I've said, that you what you do today is based on what you see in the future, and therefore I always see something positive and then work towards it. So pagdating naman po sa personal, we've been giving actually a lot of these mga, well, kung ikaw nasa informal economy, magbibigay ulit po kami ng not just wage subsidy, pero mga cash for work para po dun sa mga, yung minimum, so yung middle class kasi, bibigyan natin ng, yung SMEs, bibigyan po natin ng additional 2 months sa tulong, tapos po yung mga middle class na mga either self-employed o mga gig o mga freelancers, bibigyan din po natin ng at least ng 2 months po na suporta para po after na i-lift yung ECQ, at least meron silang bridge. I keep talking that all these are bridges actually. And,
well, it makes complete sense to me, Congressman. What worries me is this, kasi nung nilabas ng Malacanang, and I think also you members of Congress were part of it, you guys rolled out the Social Amelioration Program. And everybody said, that's great, makakatulong yan sa napakaraming naghihikahos. But ngayon, wow, hindi man lang nakaka 10% daw ang distribution ng SAP. That's one. And then second, what worries me, and I don't know if it's just, the president medyo being a little bit emphatic or dramatic, but he's basically saying, kung kailangan ipagbili ko yung cultural center of the Philippines, ipagbibili ko, where will you even get the money for all of these subsidies, bailouts, and guarantees that are great ideas, but sabi nga, where's the money?
There is. Inassess naman po halos lahat ng countries, and we always come out number 5 financially, the best in ASEAN, number 3 in Asia, and probably number 6 in the world.
Okay.
Because of our debt to GDP, because of our forex reserve, because of our credit standing, it hits everybody, and therefore differentially, everybody keeps their credit standing unless you do something not so good. And in terms of our monetary space, so kaya ba? Ito nga sinasabi ko. May 15, kaya pa po ng gobyerno ang sustentuhan po yung mga pangangailangan natin para po dito sa ECQ. So dapat nagawa natin lahat na kinailangan kasi nga bakit ba ECQ? Tumabi ka, huwag kayo lalabas ng bahay kasi may kriminal sa labas. Kailangan namin hulihin through testing at kailangan yung mga kasabwat mahanap through tracing at may lagay natin sila para hindi na po sila makapanakit. So yung buong 2 buwan na yun lang po siguro ang masasabi natin na sana, malaking sana, dahil by May 15 dapat pwede na natin buksan. So kung meron pa dyan natitira ng mga positibo, kaya-kaya natin, kumaga pwede na natin bring it on. May capacity na kami to test, to trace, and may capacity kami to isolate. Kaso yun nga, hindi masyado natin nagawa na magkaroon ng malaking testing para pwede natin bitiwan ang mga tao na makalabas, makapagtrabaho, at least up to a certain minimum social contacts per day, pwede natin silang pagbigyan. Kaso nga, mukhang mas dadaan-daan natin ang pagbabalik sa dati, hindi ko sinasabing normal, sa dati, sa pamamagitan po ng pagbukas po, pagpababalik po sa trabaho para magkaroon ng income at magbabalik po ng mga negosyo para po magkaroon po ng gross value added po ang ating ekonomiya. So, on the whole, kaya natin bayaran yan. Fully funded po yung 375 billion, umangat kasi ng konti yung ating pong ginastos for the past 2 months. At meron po tayong nakanda na financing para po sa stimulus. Umaabot po ng 485 billion. So ang ating deficit aabot po ng 7.6% of GDP. We will not be the best, but certainly the Philippines will not be the worst. And therefore, I think we can. So pag lumampas ka na May 15, yun ang problema. Gagamit na tayo ng mga nireserba natin para sa recovery. Yun lang po. So para sa akin, kahit ayaw na ayaw ko sanang mag-extend pa yan, kasi nga pag nag-extend tayo, talagang yung ating recovery ay mako-compromise na. Kasi yung 60 days na yon na nagsakripisyo ang ordinaryong Pilipino, di sana po nagawa na yung testing at saka yung tracing. Kaso hindi natin masyado nagawa.
Okay, Kong Joey, pagpasensya mo na, no? And I'm being totally transparent to you and to our audience. Tanga na kung tanga, as they say, no? Pero are we measuring our economic status, our economic position based on a world order? Kasi parang lumalabas ngayon because of COVID-19, itong pag-iisip at palaisipan. We are now reflecting on our attitude na ang world ranking ganito ganyan, so tayo ang Pilipinas must grow by X%. Yung every year, our growth forecast is 7%, magiging 6%, magiging 4%. We are ranked so and so in the region in terms of credit rating, etc. Pero parang may mga nagsasabi, mahalaga ba talaga yon na parang we're always thinking of position, stature? Hindi kaya mas maigi isipin na lang muna natin yung kalagayan ng mga Pilipino? I'm sorry, I'm being totally honest, Pong Joey.
Kasi yun po yung mga tinatawag natin na mga guidepost. Kung biyahe ka papuntang Bicol, makikita mo po dyan yung tinatawag natin milestone, I don't know kung, pero 50 kilometers away ka from Albay, from Legazpi. So alam ko na malapit na ako. Pero ano ba pagdating, ano yung Legazpi para sa akin? Comfortable life for all. Yun ang sinasabi ni Presidente. Pangalawa, yung minimum health standard. Minimum health standard, mini-measure in terms of your longevity. Dapat dati hanggang 72 lang tayo, ngayon nasa 77. So there are meaningful na, and siguro in terms of your height, because height now is a measure of your yes.
Okay.
And then third is the size of the middle class. So or the size of your extreme poor or your food poor. So pagdating na po kasi, bakit sinasabi, ano yung guidepost? Ay growth po, GDP growth. So, pangalawa, siyempre titignan mo yung distribution of that growth. So, and the distribution of that growth can be measured by way of your education. Ilan ba napaaral mo?
Yeah, Kong Joey, pasensya ka na akong Joey, no? Kasi maganda yung binabanggit mo, no? Yes, we need the guideposts, and we have traditional guideposts set by world organizations, banking system, politicians, etc. And nagumpisa ka nung sinabi mong yung overall standing ng karamihan, yung poverty and health system. Dito sa Pilipinas, the irony is, every year, particularly towards the end of the year, madidinig natin lagi na nagsasabi yung mga korporasyon na, we posted double-digit growth. We earned billions of pesos in profit for our shareholders. What I saw in 2018 and 2019 were corporations bragging about their earnings while more and more people were getting poorer. And as you correctly pointed out, we need to grow the middle class. We need to improve the health systems. Pero none of that took place. And there were no efforts to control the distribution or direct the distribution of wealth and benefits in the country.
Mahirap siya pero we never stop trying naman. Katulad halimbawa ng BBB, example lang kita, it improves the massive infrastructure in Metro Manila. I don't see that mas malaki po ang impact niya in terms of creation of jobs, creation of new enterprises, and therefore creation of more employment. So, nung tinitingnan natin yan, sabi ko at least dapat as far as possible maging neutral na yung whatever value is created from, let's say, from the bill, dapat mas proportional. If you had like two Philippines, one is basically the corporates and vis-a-vis, of course, the labor sector, dapat mas neutral o mas at least proportional po na, well, sadly, mas malaki po ang kita kasi mas immediate at direct po ang benefit from the BBB ng mga corporates, and magti-trickle down talaga dun sa mga labor only by way of let's say higher employment, and therefore some minimal wage growth, and improved improved choice, consumer choices. But on the whole, ang point, para ako nangangapa, pero in simple language, parang ano talaga the capitalist system is intrinsically unequal. Bottom
okay.
line.
Pero ang tanong ko na lang, last question ko na lang, Kong Joey, at baka masabunutan mo ako pag nagkita tayo sa kakulitan ko. But okay, so to be fair, build, nagdala ng employment, and you know, it took COVID-19 to force corporations to bring out their wealth and share it with the general population. Ngayon, last question ko, kasi sa headlines ng Philippine Star, lumabas that President Duterte basically instituted tax on refined fuels, imported oils. Will this become a trend? Kasi alam ko meron tayong mga regional trade agreements, tax agreements, pero globally the discussion has been, okay, we need to bring back manufacturing locally. We need to stimulate local purchasing of local goods, etc. Magkakaroon ba tayo ng new normal where Filipinos will buy local and anything imported will be taxed?
Yeah. Ang tingin ko in terms of tax measure, the trend would be towards more digital, and therefore we will tax the digital trade. That is the more clear trend. Kasi marami pong mga trade on e-platforms. So we will make those battable, and then magiging withholding agent natin yung platform, whether it's AOL, Alibaba, or Lazada. So that is the clearer that's the clearer direction with respect to raising revenues. Kasi as of now they are offshore, and therefore they are behaving as if they are beyond our I think we intend to yan po ang isa sa mga nakikita natin na pagkukunan po ng pera. Yan po ang actually ang pinakauna.
What about the imports, Congressman?
Hindi. Ngayon lang yan. Tsaka oil lang naman pinili eh. So actually, when Congress is not in session, the president can change the up or down the tariff rates. So that is still the law. And yung 10% is simply because from $70 per barrel, bumagsak po ng $26 per barrel. So in terms of, let's say, consumption, sa tingin ko there's space to put in taxes and raise some revenues for the government. It is more opportunistic actually. So I would tend to expect, unless it goes back to its original 76, I think Congress will most likely take it off.
Okay.
Because you don't tax those things, but you tax really the consumption is, kasi meron na siyang 6 pesos na excise tax, meron pa siyang 12% VAT. So I think it's well taxed already. So yung if at all, we will not do it. We'll rather put excise tax rather than an ad valorem tax on fuel.
Okay, thank you very much, Kong Joey.
Salamat.
Maraming salamat sa teaching mo sa klase natin today.
Hindi ba teaching revalida yung ginawa mo eh.
Okay, thank you very much, Kong Joey. Please stay safe, strong, and healthy, and God bless you, sir.
Thank you po.
Okay, that's Congressman Joey Salceda, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, representative of the 2nd District of Albay. Now, let's continue on with our program, and I'd like to bring in our news Philippine Star correspondent, Paulo Romero, who was at the Senate yesterday. Paulo, good morning to you, brother.
Good morning. Good morning, Sito. Good morning to all.
Okay, I hope you're healthy. And were you tested yesterday?
No, I was supposed to go to the Senate yesterday, but there was a really strong discouragement from the Senate leadership, led by Senate President Vicente Soto. Now, as much as possible, journalists would not are discouraged to go to the Senate to physically cover the proceedings. Well, there was some sigh of relief among the reporters because, as you read, there were at least 18 staffers, authorized
Did
staffers.
you know any of those people, Paulo? Kasi kayo naman, magkakaibigan kayo sa Senate, and it must have been shocking to find out that some of your friends were a couple of those 18 people.
Yeah. I saw, based on the pictures, I saw some of them who were there present, Senate staffers, whom I know, but I haven't ventured to ask whether they were the ones who were tested positive. But I did some inquiries on who they are. But how would I say this?
No,
Should I
no, that,
should I
I,
be thankful that I don't know most of them? Some of those staffers who were
yeah.
tested positive.
No, because
Yeah,
I found it. I think the big news was 18 of the Senate staffers were tested positive out of 500. Medyo
yeah,
malaking percentage yun. And
yes, yeah.
then, and that's not all the staffers. I mean, I think that's just skeleton staffers to service or help those 12 ba yun? 12 senators who had to physically go into the Senate.
Yeah. There are about 15 centers who had to go there. But based on the latest report last night, was that I think there are five out of the 18 who were actually staffers of senators, one from each senator, like
Okay.
Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri, Senator Francis Tolentino, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, Senator Richard Gordon. Those are the names that I recall. But it's also something that as of last night, most of those 18 who were tested were actually members of the Senate Sergeant at Arms. The group, the office that provides security.
Security.
Yes, and those, I don't know how the public would take this, but those who are actually screening people who enter the Senate.
Well, that makes complete sense to me now because that wasn't in the report, but it now makes complete sense if majority of those 18 belong to the team of the Senate Sergeant at Arms.
Yeah,
Sila yung frontliners ng Senate eh. Sila yung nag-i-screen ng lahat ng pumapasok sa Senate.
yes.
And I don't know. So obviously, it's only two possibilities. They weren't given the appropriate PPE, appropriate medical precautionary equipment, or that these exposures happened way before.
Yeah, that's possible, but it is also of note that since the ECQ was in place in March until today, according to Senate President Soto, there are actually employees, the skeleton staff that are regularly going to the Senate. So you could have their carriers. And also members of the Senate Sergeant at Arms. Most of them actually, I would say, a significant number of them actually are, by the very nature of their work, are staying in the premises because of the of their work. So I'm just also wondering on how these people have been guarding the Senate could have
Okay.
contracted.
In relation to this discovery, Paulo, what is now the sentiment of the Senate? Because if I were Vicente Soto, the Senate president, I think the first order of business should have been to have any and every Senate employee or person doing business with the Senate physically should be tested for COVID-19.
Well, just a bit of a just a bit of a background. Well, as you know, the people who enter the Senate have passed through this thermometers, the handheld thermometers, and then there's also a scanner. You see at the airports, like
Yeah.
a camera, and then they have this mandatory hand disinfection. The alcohol there, the disinfectant there, and then there's this disinfectant mats. And then, as you saw, there's this some sort of acetate screen surrounding this Senate Sergeant at Arms. Now, what happened yesterday, and what will happen until every day, until the Senate is such that all those entering would still go through a rapid testing. Now, this rapid testing, every time one enters, is provided, donated by a private individual through Senator Panfilo Lacson and Senate President Vicente Sol. So what happened yesterday was that as soon as these people were tested, supposedly positive, virtual positive, as Senator Lacson would put it, they were immediately isolated and sent to designated hospitals. And there was an effort to contact trace all of the families.
I mean, you have to excuse me kung medyo natawa ako if I giggled because, it just occurred to me, if you got a slingshot or a air gun, you could actually, from the Senate building, shoot the closest quarantine area, which is the World Trade Center on Buendia, di ba?
A huge one. Now, it would be interesting later to find out, maybe this afternoon again, if there still be other people who will be found positive for this dreaded disease, because again, there'll be another round of testings for all those who enter. And I'm sure there's some what you call it, some sort of a protocol by certain institutions around the world where certain individuals must be regularly tested. So maybe you won't be registering positive. You didn't register as positive yesterday, but you could be today. So now, because of what happened yesterday, the passage of this teleconference resolution was really swift. Like an hour. Like an hour. Yes, like an hour.
They had enough motivation to get the hell out of that building, I suppose.
Yes. And it was really fast. I mean, I would have expected some sort. Yeah, there were some discussions on amendments. It's really but you really can feel them really in a hurry, worried even the senators wanting to pass this. Yeah.
Okay, what are the priority bills that's now being tackled in terms of this health crisis? Because, I was just talking to Congressman Joey Salceda and umaangal siya na imbis na nagpaturo raw ako ng economics, parang ginawa ko siya, pinuwersa ko siyang magrebalida on the Philippine economics. But what about our senators? What are they saying right now, and what are their priorities?
Well, individual senators have made certain proposals, but as of yesterday, there was not much of a discussion, except of course the need to jumpstart the economy quickly. But for example, in the case of Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, he was looking at a possible stimulus, economic stimulus, the favorite word today, for the power sector. Now, Senator Villanueva is really pushing for
a stimulus for the where?
For the power sector.
I suppose you're talking to the cooperatives, power generation cooperatives. Kasi napaka-lawak na ngayon. That's such a wide-ranging term, power sector. There are the power generators, power plants. There is the power distributors such as Meralco, and there are the provincial cooperatives.
Yeah, I think these are really the small ones that are really make their money, make their profits on a purely dependent on direct consumer and on a day-to-day basis. But
but that's quite important because when you think about it, Paulo, many of the customers of those cooperatives are really, small lower economy families, and many of them being out of work or having no income might not be able to pay the monthly electric bills, and these cooperatives won't be able to sustain their operations. So either the government bails them out or help them to keep running.
Yeah, yeah. And in the case of Senator Villanueva, he wants to throw money at the problem, basically on workers having no work from overseas or even locally, like continuing all these subsidies by months more. Yeah, that much money is needed for that. Now, in the case of Senator Villar, Senator Cynthia Villar, she's really more on opening up manufacturing, agriculture, and construction, where she said it's somewhat relatively easy to institute social distancing and other health protocols. It's interesting that you said that no matter how much the government does, it won't be enough. Subsidies will never be enough for this out of work.
I don't know if you're seeing the video that we're airing. We have Senator Miguel Zubiri. Akala ko biglang nabuhay si Monching Mitra eh. With the beard and all, and clearly many of these senators have basically given in to the truth. Many of them have surrendered to the fact that most of them have white hair. Maski na si Joel Villanueva, puti na ang buhok. Si Mig Subiri, mukhang tumanda by 10 years.
Yeah, there was a lot of teasing yesterday. Amid this tension-filled session about the age, about how senior citizens should not go out, and Senator Soto bristled a bit at that and said that I suppose you're not referring to me. He told Senator Subiri. Many of them were sporting a long hair with white hairs. But and to be fair to Senator Subiri, he was the one who was a bit alarmed before the lockdown. He's been insisting emotionally. During the session, the last days of the session, about calling for quarantine at least at the Senate. And it was something that he was also the first to declare that he had.
Okay, well, that's good to know, Paulo, and I'll leave it at that for now, Paulo, because we still have a full lineup to go. But all of these insights that you're sharing with us are quite eye-opening, because we didn't know that it was the Office of the Sergeant of Arms of the Senate that had the highest number of positive cases in yesterday's testing, that Miguel Subiri was the first one to express alarm about COVID-19. And so thank you very much, my friend, and please stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, and God bless you, bro.
God bless you too. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's Paulo Romero, the Philippine Star correspondent, helping out our program agenda. Now, let's go from the Senate. Let's move on to the person covering Congress. There we go. Ria Fernandez. Good morning, Ria. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning, sir.
Okay, Ria, they tested in the Senate 18 out of 500. What's going on at the House of Representatives? Are they testing? Are they worried about what happened?
Yeah, I think it was reported before or during the session break, early on, after the session break. There were news that at the House there were a number of staff members that died. Actually, one that died because of COVID-19, and a number of a number of colleagues of that person in the same office contracted COVID-19. And we believe that the House leadership, the House management, is already conducting constant contact tracing as well as mass testing inside their halls. But as to the current numbers of those who have been infected of COVID-19 inside the House of Representatives, we don't have the latest figures yet.
How about the quorum or attendance? Because a lot of the congressmen, from what I believe, are very focused on their districts.
Yes, if you were able to watch the reopening of the session yesterday, there were only 25 lawmakers who were physically present inside the spacious plenary hall. The rest, like 276 lawmakers, were in their districts, and they participated through the teleconferencing app Zoom, like they did when they passed the Bayanihan Act last March 23.
So there is no need for them to pass any new law regarding teleconferencing and tele-legislation because unlike the Senates, kasi nauna na sila, ginawa na nila about a month ago.
What they did yesterday was that Majority Floor Leader Martin Romualdez moved to amend the rules to allow them to formalize their conduct of teleconferences, their virtual sessions, online committee hearings, which was immediately approved by the members.
Okay, what were their priorities, or did they signify a list of must do?
Mhm. If we recall, before they resume the session, they were already working. They had a number of online COVID-19 or defeat COVID-19 committee hearings, and part of which was they discussed about this new normal bill, which aims to institutionalize the guidelines on how we are going to conduct ourselves once the ECQ is lifted in a certain area, once we are moved to a general community quarantine status. They also have a number of economic stimulus packages to help the economy reel from the effects of the COVID-19 crisis. Specifically, its focus is to help our small businesses recover and our compatriots who lost their jobs, who are unable to go to work, unable to earn a living because of this pandemic.
Okay, yesterday there were a lot of talks regarding the ABS-CBN franchise, and a couple of gentlemen were making threats that if the NTC so much as gave ABS-CBN a temporary franchise or permit, lawsuits will be filed. Napag-usapan ba yan sa Kongreso kahapon, Ria?
If we're going to speak about the session, no one raised about the ABS-CBN franchise renewal, even if its franchise expired already yesterday, which coincides with the reopening of the session. But a number of lawmakers from the House issued a statement, and one of them was no less than the chairperson of the House Legislative Franchises Committee, Palawan Representative Franz Alvarez. And for him, there is no reason for the ABS-CBN not to continue operations because they have already directed, as Congress having the sole authority on legislative franchises, they have already directed the National Telecommunications Commission before they went into a session break to issue a provisional authority so that the ABS-CBN can still continue operations beyond its expiry while they are still deliberating on the matters or on the merits of the ABS-CBN franchise renewal applications at the lower chamber.
Okay, well, were there any new resolutions to reassure the NTC that if the NTC issues the permit, they are covered by immunity by Congress?
Well, basing on the statement of Chairperson Congressman Alvarez, it seems that there is no need for the Congress to issue another resolution for the NTC to
Ah,
issue a provisional authority because what they were really asserting and insisting is that it's the Congress that already directed the NTC, the Congress having the sole authority over this utility franchises. So with that, the NTC shall heed with the call of the Congress.
okay, well, it's going to be interesting what happens there. Well, Ria, thank you very much. I hope that we didn't disrupt your schedule too much, and I know it's hard working from home. So, in any case, please stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, and if you get pictures of those congressmen na hanggang ngayon itim pa rin ang buhok, please send
Yes.
it to us because clearly, based on the video that we saw, the senators were being au naturel, And the
Mhm.
congressman, mukhang nagpatina pa rin yung mga
Yes,
tao dyan.
actually. There was
Okay.
much no difference. Thank you. It was a pleasure, Sir Sito.
Okay, thank you, Ria. And that's Ria Fernandez, our TV5 correspondent and News 5 correspondent. And we will go for a quick break. When we come back, let's go to Presidential Advisor Joey Concepcion regarding the rapid testings that they've been doing in Sampaloc and in Tondo here on Agenda. Okay, we're back here on Agenda. You're watching us on Signal TV, channels 8 and 250, as well as the Facebook platform of One News PH, live stream on Facebook. And, excuse me, that's not COVID-19, that's my throat going dry. Joey Concepcion is the Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, but he has been doing so much in terms of helping figuring out, finding those who are COVID positive. Now, good morning, Joey. Nice to see you back on the program.
Hi, Sito. Good morning.
Okay, Joey, you've been doing the antibody rapid testing kit program, and you did it in Sampaloc and in Tondo. Now, we've had initial reports, but could you give us the background or the insights to what you've been doing?
Well, ARC is called Antibody Rapid Test Kits. It's a program where about now 130 plus or even 140 companies have joined. And we're close to about 1 million test kits that will be arriving sometime May 15 onward. Now, while we're waiting for that, we are now working with LGUs. No, this is sponsored basically by certain, like the first one in Manila was sponsored by ANCAS. So in Tondo, we had a press con after that with Mayor Isko Moreno, and he really has the right approach in trying to contain the virus. No, it's basically test, isolate, and trace. Now in Tondo, that was about 1,409 were tested, no, and about 109 came out positive. So the next thing to do, following the DOH guidelines, is to send them for a swab test, no? And that's going to be done. In Sampaloc naman, you have 894 tested. That's supposed to be about close to 1,400. So I'm waiting for the other test results. 4 of that were IgM positive, which means they have the virus already. They had the virus, so they have the antibodies. No, basically 15. IgM positive. 4 were IgM positive. That means they have the virus. No, 15 were IgG positive. No, when you have IgG, that means you've had the virus and you have the immunity already. For how long?
Okay.
We don't know. Now, in Sampaloc, 27 were symptomatic but negative. So they could have maybe just a cold, a cough, but they were negative. So generally, Sampaloc was not too bad. No, there were only about 4 IgM positive. That's really confirmed. So they have to go for the swab test. So that's
Okay.
where we are right now with Tondo. The testing continues. They'll be moving towards different barangays. The sponsor naman will be somebody different, so another company. No?
So what is this telling us? That the exposure rate is not as bad as we thought in the worst possible place that it could hit, because everybody, in myself included, I was assuming if this gets out into the Tondo, the Sampaloc area where everything is so congested, that we are going to be counting bodies by the thousand. But now you're testing there, and my hats off to you and your group, because now we're actually getting accurate data. Only 4 in Sampaloc. How many in Tondo?
So in Tondo, that is a bit more. That's about 109, no, positive.
Okay.
But again, we have to verify that with the swab test. In the
Mm-hmm.
case of Sampaloc, I said symptomatic but negative. So when they say symptomatic, it can be fever, it can be that, it can be other things. No, but
Yeah.
confirmed their IgM positive was 4. No,
4,
15
yeah.
was IgG. That means they already had the virus and they have the antibodies. So Sampaloc is fairly good. But remember, the base of Sampaloc was only 894. That's
Yeah.
supposed to be close to 1,500. Now, the objective, and we are perfectly aligned with Mayor Isko, because the idea really moving forward, even if we move to a GCQ, is to really focus on the barangay. And he said it rightly. Let's incentivize the barangays who really guard their barangays. And if there are infected people, everybody has to be vigilant. No? And commerce will be allowed. That's what he was saying, provided that the infected are moved to the isolation centers or the quarantine centers. And that's why he had a hard lockdown of about 2 days. No?
Okay.
So moving forward, the next would be Makati. We're also working with Marikina, Pasig, QC, Taguig, eventually Batangas. No? Not all cities are receptive to the rapid test kit. No? They prefer to move towards the swab test right away, which is fine. But then again, remember, it's not important that we just test once a month. The way I see it, and I've told the private sector, we have to test frequently, because after a swab test and you walk out in a bus and you get infected, you can get it even in the rapid test. If you test yourselves negative or negative, but you go home, you're also
Yeah.
at risk, because you're exposed. So whatever test you do, a strategy has to be done. And I don't think a frequency of once a month, especially for those high risk, and going home all the time, that's it doesn't really work that way. You expose
Yeah, but
yourself still.
Yeah, but how much are we talking about here, Joey? Because when things started out, everybody was saying that the test kits were about 1,500 to 2,600. Have the prices gone down, and can we make
Sito,
it affordable?
when we launched ARC, we have somebody who's helping the whole network of ARC. Bring
Yeah.
the test kits at about 450 pesos only.
Okay.
So since the prices have gone down for that brand that we use, by the way, we're agnostic. Everybody can use their own test kits provided it's FDA approved and it's IgG, IgM. So prices of test kits have gone down. Everybody has tried to approximate 450, 500. Now, the Go Negosyo is also going to help 6 hospitals. We are hopefully will finalize with DOH sometime this week the agreements to provide equipments, to upgrade equipments, and these 6 hospitals, the total PCR capacity may increase up to 7,000 a day. So it's not only in the rapid test kits that we are encouraging the private sector to use right now, because there is nothing else. So this is the only thing that we have, because right now the government expansion program is delayed. They were saying by April 30 they'll be at 8,000. So there's some delays there. But I think eventually this will all happen in May.
Yeah, but Joey, what about making that your pet project? Because when there was a shortage of alcohol, what happened in the country, in Metro Manila, is that the companies who were manufacturing consumable alcohol shifted production into medical alcohol. In New York City, Governor Andrew Cuomo just showed the New York City manufactured hand sanitizers. Now, you being the guy pushing for testing, you were the one who pushed for barangay testing and isolation and opening them. Why not make this a Go Negosyo project where we manufacture testing kits in the Philippines, and where all of your associates, companies, put their money behind that?
It's very hard to do. The technology behind that is quite tough. There's so many Chinese companies and Korean companies, and now there's an American company, Roche, who's discovered something even better. But that will hopefully it will be out soon, and we can bring that Roche antibody test kit, which claims to have a 100% accuracy. But we will have to see that. The objective really is to get private sector. If we want the economy to be open, and as we move to a GCQ, of course, we have to balance life and livelihood, no? So that's a very careful balance. As we open the economy, testing is the only way to create visibility. And I'm Vince and Secretary Galvez, Vince Zison and Secretary, we are in the same platform. So government and the private sector aligned are towards this direction. Now, what is the private sector losing today? Everybody is losing so much money. What's worse is that we cannot employ people, and that is hurting. The revenues of the Philippine government is down by 83%. If you look at the domestic trade right now, according to Ricky Razon, it's 60% down, April year on year. That's similar down to the World War II. Even foreign trade is down by 83%.
Yeah. So what are they suggesting then?
So the only way is for us to really move out, you have to run the economy, and you do it guarded. And your defense there as you open the economy is you have to test, isolate, and trace. That has to be done at a very aggressive level. So
Okay.
both rapid and PCR is the way forward to create that visibility.
We agree on that. So, I've kind of run short on time here, but in any case, would you agree, Joey, that what will happen would be like PESA-like facilities where manufacturing businesses, etc., will be in controlled, isolated communities, so that you minimize contamination and you continue with the economy?
No, very difficult to do that because all these plants are already all over. So what we're doing is, as much as possible, we try to house the employees in the plant, no? And
Yeah.
that's the right way to do. Some who can do it, and also protect your barangays, no? So those that are surrounded barangays, because that's where they reside, then support the barangay, test the barangays as frequently as possible. So that's the strategy that most of the private sector companies will employ. They will test their employees first, but eventually they'll reach out to the barangays.
So once the barangay is completely, totally tested and isolated, no one can enter the barangay until and unless they have been tested. So there's no further contamination.
No, not that way. Everybody can still enter the barangays, but at least they have to be just vigilant, because or else commerce will be affected. There has to be a free flowing. Now, if the infection rate is very high, and that's when they do maybe an ECQ on the barangay. Don't do an ECQ on the city or the province or the entire NCR.
Okay.
Let's do an ECQ on the barangays then.
Okay, well, thank you, Joey, and we'll try to give you even more time in the coming week. Thank you for your inputs, and more than anything, thank you for spearheading this rapid testing program and for trying to get businessmen on board with this national pandemic or this problem with COVID-19. You stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy, my friend.
Thanks, Cito. Okay, goodbye.
Okay, that's a presidential assistant on entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, and my hat's off to him and his associates, because they have actually gone out of their way to do this rapid testing. And yes, they want the economy back, but you've got to give credit to people like Ramon Ang, to Joey Concepcion, to the Tans and the Cs and everyone else, and of course the Ayalas, and most especially those who don't even want their names out, but are helping business people, businessmen, businesswomen who are helping, giving of their own money to be a blessing to everyone else who don't have much, who don't have enough, and also to government. Please be like-minded. Let's all be together. Let's heal as one. Let's get out of this, and let's pray for everyone. You all have a great day ahead of you. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay healthy. And God bless all of you. I'm Cito Beltran, and that was today's agenda.